People really don't like it when I say, I wish I were born a man. Their first argument or response is always, but you can give life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait. I didn't say I was upset that I was born biologically female.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I wish I wasn't a gendered woman,
Okay,
which is different.
it is.
So today we're going to talk about that, the challenges of being a gendered woman in our world. Welcome to episode 5. Sex,
Relationships
careers,
and just plain life from the experience of two Latina actresses.
welcome to the Unfiltered. Hey, I am Vanessa Tomasino,
I'm Maria Bruson.
and we are trying to figure out how to become men in this world. Is that a wish of yours as well?
I feel like now that I know more about the advantages of being biologically a man imply like it's very shocking and it's really like disappointing because I feel like for example for Mother's Day or like for birthdays or whatever the special occasion may be, they're always like we couldn't live without you because of women. You are the backbone of society. Yeah, right. Because then when it comes to finding a job or having equal pay or whatever it is, men always have the advantage.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. I mean, if you look at the way the world is structured socially, especially after capitalism or even
Mhm.
pre-capitalist societies, it was all about patriarchal rules of the game, which meant most of our thinkers, Rousseau, even Machiavelli before that, they were all predominantly men, white men at that. We can talk about that another day as well, of how white thinking affects colonial people, what we're now called minorities. So there's a part of the world that controlled the narrative on how social structures should function, and that included the male gender. I think it's a good moment to explain the difference between being biologically female and being a gendered woman. So being biological female means that you were born like this, with the ability to reproduce in a female kind of way, right? Like where we can have gestation and have kids and all that stuff. That's being biologically a female, okay?
Yeah.
And then there is being gendered a woman, which means that then we are projected a certain standard of behavior that we're supposed to follow according to what women should look like or should be like. And that's being gendered. It's completely different.
Mhm.
I don't have an issue with being about a biological female. I have no problems with that. I don't like getting my period, and being pregnant was really hard.
Giving birth must have been hard as
It was
well.
really hard. Yes. But that being said, I'm not complaining about that.
Mhm.
I'm complaining about the fact that in this world, I always have to prove my worth, something my male counterparts don't have to do.
Never.
That's my issue. I'm going to give you a few examples of how this has affected my life. And this is why I hold very dear my argument of I wish I were born a man. Because if I was a man, Maria, my life would be completely different.
Of course.
I wouldn't be fighting the current battles that I have, because I wouldn't people would listen to me. They would believe what I'm saying, they would value my worth. They would even uphold me like she's a genius, or he, in this case, he's a genius. Instead, because I'm a gendered woman, people say, you're too intense, you're crazy, you're too passionate, you're emotional.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a genius. You're problematic. It's terrible.
I thought, well, in this like specific example or situation that happened to me, it's really specific in our careers,
Mm-hmm.
acting. I thought that discrimination or marginalizing someone in a set in a film set didn't happen. I thought that was like a myth. When celebrities would talk about it, and I would see their YouTube videos, and they would talk about how hard filming in this set was because they faced, I don't know, discrimination and whatever. They had like a huge gender pay gap. I thought that didn't happen, and then I worked,
And then it was my turn to work.
and then it was my turn to work, and I saw firsthand how hard it is to be a woman in film, and I feel like in every other area and every other industry. And I was like, holy shit, this is real. Like, it does happen.
Yes.
And I was so scared because then if you, whatever the case may be, if it's either they're silencing you, or if you're, facing some sexual misconduct on set, it's so scary because you feel so incompetent.
Yes.
And like, for me, it was the inner battle of, if I say something, then they're gonna say I'm difficult, and I'm never gonna work again.
Yeah.
So I should just like stay silent.
Yes.
And then I understood everything that I've heard from you and other people when they talked about how unfair it is to be a woman
Yeah.
on set.
We can start there. That's a really good, starting point. Being a woman in the industry, in the film and TV industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because you are right. I think most women or most people who haven't lived through it, they always think it's a myth or it's an exaggeration of this one person who's probably problematic,
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain things that affect actresses in the film industry. For those of you who are listening to us for the first time, both Maria and I are film and TV actresses. She's a beautiful young starlet on the rise, and I am a washed out.
I hate you.
No, I'm just, I've been around for almost 20 years. So I've seen it all. And I know I still have a lot to see. But yeah, so let's talk about the differences in being a woman in the film industry compared to a man actor, a male actor. Okay. So for example, like roles, that's the first thing. There are a lot more roles for men than for women.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, writers are now including women and they're also making them leads, the star of the show, which is great. That being said, that's not always the case. And if the lead is a female, then you have a lot of males around her. So bottom line, there are way more roles for men than for women. How do I know this? Because I work at an agency. I assist an agent, and we go through daily projects that are looking for actors. And one of my things, because I love to research, is to count how many roles there are for men and how many roles there are for women. And by far, the roles of men are outnumber the roles for women. Aside from that, the cool thing about the roles for men is that aside that there are so many, is that they're so generic. It's like policemen between the ages of 30 and 45, any ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
For military men, the same age. They're so random. And then for women, it'll be something like grandma, 80s, It's like, what? And then woman at the bar, 18 to 25, model type. It's very specific. So you have all these other women who don't fall in there either on the category of grandma or the category of super hot model, and they don't get a chance to audition.
Mhm.
So definitely more specific when it comes to women. Also descriptions. They do describe women like she's on the chubbier side
Yeah.
or she's curvy and sexy, something you don't see necessarily with the breakdowns for men.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So the jobs, there are less jobs for women. One. Second is getting to set. And when you get to set, you realize that the way that you behave or the way that people talk to you is different to the way they talk to your male counterparts. I've had situations where I wanted to join the group of people and they wouldn't let me in because, they were talking guy stuff. And I was just kind of
Hmm.
like, oh, and sometimes they were like, if I looked pretty, they would let me into their world because I was pretty, but
Hmm.
not because they saw me as somebody who would bring something to the table.
Hmm.
Okay. And then when I had scenes that were had nudity or were sexy in any way, that's where I felt the least safe. And when you get the smirk,
Hmm.
the look of somebody just looking at you, how do you explain that as sexual harassment? I can't go to my union and be like,
He looked at me.
that guy looked at me.
Yeah.
They're like, that's his job. I'm like, I know, but he gave me that look. What look? That look. The fuck me look. He gave me the
Yeah.
fuck me look. They're
Yeah.
gonna think I'm crazy.
Hmm.
And then if they ask that person, wouldn't that be lovely? Just be
Yeah.
like, can we talk to you?
Yeah.
Did you give her the
Fuck
fuck you
me.
look? Fuck me look? Yeah. And he's gonna say, obviously not.
Yeah.
What is she, crazy? She's probably in love with me.
Hmm.
And now we become crazy. And so, how do you really report sexual harassment? And all this sexual harassment is very subtle. It's not like they just grab your ass, It's all about the tone of the voice, the way they look at you, how they call you. Sometimes, like, sweetie, come here. It's like, sweetie, I have a name. My name is Vanessa. Yes, darling. Like, wait,
Hmm.
what's happening? But that's very difficult to report. And then the other thing is authority. Sometimes when you're a female actress, especially if you're young, you don't have the ability to go up to somebody in a very assertive way and say, this is not working for me in the scene. Could we try something else?
Especially if it's like if I'm a newbie as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, no, honey, you look good. You look good. That's cute.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that someone has told you that before and said, you look beautiful, honey.
Not to mention how like there's more men and crew. So
Yeah.
if it's like a very intimate scene where only director,
Hmm.
actors, and crew should be there, like only the necessary people,
Yeah.
the crew are all men, director's a man,
Hmm.
and then there's me. How am I supposed to like feel when
Yeah.
I'm half naked and then all these men just staring at me?
Yeah.
And how I can't report that either.
No, you can't. Like, there's no valid way of reporting something like this. So those are the challenges we endure as actresses on set that people don't really understand because they haven't lived through it, or we are unable to report because there is no protocol on a look. There is no way of reporting uh, a tone. And so that becomes then silent. And then all actresses just stay quiet.
And our like the compliments they give us is like you said, you look great, you look pretty, you look beautiful. And for
Mm-hmm.
men it's like great job, great scene, great line, great every like they compliment their acting and and then they compliment our looks, not
Yes,
our work.
absolutely.
I hate that.
Absolutely. And I've been in some amazing sets. The L Word stands out because it was all crew of women and female directors and producers. That was amazing. The one I just recently did on Netflix, amazing crew, two
Mhm.
lead actresses in the scene. The director, even though he was a man, he was amazing, hands on. But I've been on other sets where it just exactly what you just said. The men are powerful actors and the women are just pretty.
Mm-hmm.
You look pretty, honey.
Mm-hmm.
And the male actor is, you're a genius.
Yeah.
That scene was flawless. It's like, and you're
It was
thinking,
the most mediocre scene ever. It's like, oh, okay.
And you're thinking, am I even a good actress or am I just pretty?
But you're lucky though, because I think that's changing in North America.
Yes.
But here in El Salvador, where we're just starting as an industry, we're like starting from
Yes, jungle.
yes.
Axel Rose, jungle. Welcome to the jungle. This is El Salvador in Central America. She's absolutely right. Maria touches on a very good point that I think we need to elaborate. El Salvador doesn't have a film industry that is well developed. It's in its starting stages, and so everybody does whatever the fuck they want. You know. So when someone like me comes in and tries to put some order, I am called difficult, problematic, and hard to work with, just because I ask for basic things like human rights,
Yeah.
and labor standards. And they're like, why are you so difficult? It's
Yeah.
like, excuse me. Anywho, I was directing a documentary called Hablemos de Cine.
Really
What's
good,
up?
by the way, on YouTube.
Oh, you liked it?
I loved it.
Oh, that's
I love
great.
being part of it as well.
Yes, she was. We interviewed her. So when I was directing, my crew was completely new to me because I didn't select them. I just came on board as director, and the crew was made up by other people who had known each other for years, mostly men. I cannot express to you the great challenges I faced during the filming of that project. When my crew would look at me and question every single thing I told them to do. I would say, could you please frame this shot looking that way? And the cameraman would say, I don't like it. It looks plain. And I would politely say, I don't give a fuck what you like. This is my scene. This is my shot. I'm the director. You do what I say. No, I don't like it. It's too plain. This is my set. How and I exploded in one moment. I said, how dare you tell me what to do in my set? I just lost it. I never lose my cool, but I lost it.
Do.
I lost it. And everyone just went silent. But why do I have to keep on telling people that I am the boss? Or why do they think it's okay to challenge me? Because they think they know better? Because they don't know better? Because in experience, I outweigh them. In professionalism, I outweighed them. So the only thing they had going for themselves was that I was a woman and they were the man. And so it ended up working, it was terrible. I was very patient. And then during the editing process, I would say, I need this type of music. And they would be like, no, we don't like it. Just like that. And I said, listen, this documentary is really mine. If you are going to mess with it, then I'm taking my name away from it. And I ended up just saying that cut that came out wasn't a reflection of what I wanted because I was questioned the whole way through. Maria, how would that have happened to a male director?
No. They would have been, oh, such a great idea. You're a genius.
Yes.
That's what would have happened.
Yes. Instead, they questioned me the whole way through. Not only in the film industry, academia, teaching in university, the hardest thing to do ever. Not because being a teacher is hard, but because commanding a room as a woman is difficult. You have all these 20-year-old kids. Entitled kids. Sorry, I do love some of you if you're watching. But some of you are entitled. 20-year-olds, completely entitled. They come from having a lecture with a senior male professor who's probably like 90 and coughing his lungs out, right? And they're all like, wow, he's so what they call, aside from genius, they would say something like, oh, he's so raw, and so smart. All the adjectives to say that a person is special. And then I would show up in the room and they would look at me immediately thinking, do you even know? Do you even know the subject? They thought I was really young too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 40 and I was teaching in my 30s. They thought I was like 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so they thought I was their peer.
Because if you're not watching, Vanessa literally looks 10 years younger than what she actually is.
It's tricky. It's tricky. And so when I walked into the room, they would start talking or they would ignore me. And then you have to become assertive and you have to say to them, I am the boss. But I shouldn't have to do that, Maria. That's the whole point.
No.
I'm not supposed to have to prove that I'm the boss. And so what I did once is they had an assignment. They had to read something. This was back in Toronto because I taught in Toronto. And so they came back and they hadn't done the assignment. And so I said, let's have a conversation on the assignment. Nobody read it. And I said, okay, nobody read this? And they're like, no. I also sent a video. If you didn't want to read, I sent a video
Mm-hmm.
about the reading. Did you watch the video? No. Okay, bye.
So it seems like if a man steps in, he doesn't have to like prove himself, and like if you're a woman,
No.
you have to like, hello class, like this is my resume, this is
Yes.
what I've done, this is like all my achievements.
Yes,
Like listen to me.
pretty much.
But if a man walks in, he's just like, okay, I'm a man, listen to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even if he doesn't know anything,
Yeah.
they will listen to him because
Mhm.
he's a man. And so what happened is I kicked them out of class. I kicked them out of my class. I said, you haven't read the assignment. We have nothing to discuss. Please leave my room now. And from the moment I did that, they knew I meant business. And the following class, they came prepared. Okay. So that's the kind of thing I'm saying. We're busy. We are answering phone calls in the middle of a podcast. So that's what I'm saying is I shouldn't have to prove myself and then have to go through these motions and these actions of being really harsh on them to show them that I mean business. I shouldn't have to do that. And the same thing happened when I was applying for my PhD. You know that I graduated with my master's. Well, I finished my master's in 10 months. 10 months. That was a record. Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Because I love what I do. So I
Mhm.
just wrote the thing and I defended it and I graduated. I finished.
Mhm.
So I applied to the PhD program. Guess what happened to me? I didn't get in, Maria. I didn't get in, even though I was top of my class. I graduated in 10 months. I had a research project that was amazing and I had supervisors and I didn't get in. Guess who got in? All my male counterparts who had not finished their masters, who did not have a research project, and did not have supervisors ready. They got in. Not only did they get in, they got in with scholarships.
Oh my God.
Ask yourself this: how is it possible for a or for a student in general to get access to a PhD program without finishing a master's degree?
Yeah.
Well, they got in and I didn't. And so we had to take it up to the powers to be at the university, and they explained my case. They had no reason, or they had like no explanation on why I didn't get into the program. They just said an oversight. Somebody made a mistake. The truth is, they probably didn't want another woman in the program because they only take a very small group, and they were mostly men, and I think like 3 other girls. When they realized that we had exposed them, they let me into the program. I had to fight my way into the program, even though I was the number 1 student in my class.
It's crazy.
And guess what happened after that? I got in. My male counterparts had still not finished their masters. So the PhD program started, and they were still finishing their masters. And I was like, I can't believe this. But yet they were still receiving the scholarships for that first year. And then what I did is I applied on my second year to one of the biggest scholarships in Canada. And I said, I am going to prove with this that this university made a huge mistake, a gendered mistake in not letting me in, right? And it wasn't even the university, it was the director at the time who was a man. uh, and so I applied to the scholarship, and I got it.
Yeah.
I won this amazing scholarship on human rights, democracy, youth. It was all about Nelson Mandela. It was to honor him, and I got, I think it was like 103,000 dollars
Wow.
to do research, and I was the only one that got it in my class.
Nice.
And so I went up to the director who did not let me in to the PhD program, and I threw the paper at him. And I said, this is what I have to do to prove that I'm worth something. And it shouldn't have to be that way. Isn't it crazy?
It is.
Ah, man, the stories. The stories, people.
And it almost feels like men like they cannot stand seeing they cannot stand seeing women do better than them.
Yeah.
Not all of men,
No.
obviously, but I know like someone really close to me. He was really, really frustrated the other day. He was telling me how his boss, like she was very very hard on him, and he was having a really hard time because he was putting all this effort in like the marketing campaign for 2023, and he hadn't slept and this and that. I'm like, but just be nice, present whatever you have ready for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, but I just don't understand, like she's a woman. And I'm like, what do you mean she's a woman? Yeah, because I feel like because she's a woman she's not being fair to me. And I'm like, what do you
What?
mean? Yeah, because all of my bosses have been women. I don't understand why women like complain so much about how they don't have work and how they're not represented in the workforce. And I'm like, that's literally the 1%.
Yeah.
It's literally like that doesn't happen
Mm-hmm.
very often.
Mm-hmm. Women are
And
exploited.
I was just so shocked about how he was complaining about
Mm-hmm.
his boss being a woman, and he was so frustrated because she was a woman.
Yeah. And And I do have to say that women are exploited in the labor force, but they're also exploited at home.
Mm-hmm.
So we have double the duty. We go to work like any other person, like any other man, and then we come home and we take care of the kids.
Thing is, work never ends
It
for
never
women.
ends for us. Um, and that's work that is not paid. And people will say, "But you love your children." Uh-huh, I love my children. I do.
But I'm
But it's still
exhausted.
work. It's still work. So the amount of work that we put into our homes is never priced. Like there's no money involved. Nobody will say, "Hey, Vanessa, I'm giving you $1,000 for taking care of your own children," right?
Mm-hmm.
They just say that I should do it because I love them, which I do, but it's still work.
Mm-hmm.
And so for women, there's this pressure to be extremely successful in the public sphere, meaning work, and then be super mom in the private sphere, meaning your home and your family. I get it, and I'm sorry, people, but it's not working. I'm exhausted, and I'm not the only woman exhausted in this world. There's so many moms who are suffering depression because they're tired. Sometimes, your kids get sick and you've had a long day at work, and then you come home and you have to deal with that and you don't sleep. And then people will say, well, why don't you then give up your job and be a stay-at-home mom? Do you know how hard it is to be a stay-at-home
It's
mom?
so hard.
I did it for a year, Maria. I did. I actually dropped everything. I dropped teaching in university. Well, the good thing is in Canada, because I was working in Canada at the time, you get maternity leave,
Mm-hmm.
and you get it for a year, where they pay you for a year.
Mm, my
Imagine that.
God.
Imagine that. How it should be, right? And they also give paternity rights, which is amazing. Also, so I could take a year, and then the father of my children can take another year. Isn't it amazing?
Nice.
Anywho, so I said, I am going to, I was so naive. I said I was going to be the best mom in the world.
Mhm.
Organic food and no TV, no iPads, nothing. I'm going to stay at home. I stopped acting. I stopped teaching. I was just there for my baby. Guess what happened, Maria? I love how I will always ask a question like, guess, like it's a good thing. It's like, guess what happened to me?
You were not happy.
Obviously, I was not happy. You know, I wasn't,
You're exhausted.
I was exhausted.
Sleep deprived.
I gained 40 pounds
Mhm.
because I was sleep deprived and I was depressed. I was super unhappy because I didn't interact with adults all day. I was just with the baby. And by the end of the year, I was going crazy. I couldn't remember who I was. I completely forgot about how smart I was in academia or how good I was of an actress. I lost completely my identity subjectivity.
Mhm.
It was hard. I had to call somebody, like a life coach, and say, I'm going through this. And she said, what do you need? I need to get my life back. How do you get your life back? I think I need a nanny.
Yeah.
She's like, do it. And then I said, but what if I then become a bad mom because I get a nanny? And she said, you don't become a bad mom for having a nanny. You become a bad mom where you're not when you're not there for your kids. And even though physically I was there for my kid, mentally I wasn't there for
Yeah.
my kid.
It's very different to be
Mhm.
present and to
Yes.
just be there,
Yes.
physically.
So I got the nanny and my life changed and I went back to work and I was happy again, exhausted, but happy. And so those are the challenges that women have to go through, gendered women have to go through because of the heavy expectations on being a good mom and also a good worker that our male counterparts don't have to deal with. I have amazing, by the way, they're great. I love them. Amazing PhD colleagues who had kids and they never stopped working because
Mhm.
who took care of the kids were the wives.
And I watched a documentary the other day explaining about the gender pay gap.
Yep.
And it's basically because, like, the one thing that makes women, at disadvantage
Yes.
is being moms, because then
Yes.
it's crazy. Because think about it, if you start at the same level as your partner,
Mhm.
and you work, and you go at the same pace, that you get the same promotion, same
Yes.
same salary, whatever. The moment you become a mom and you have to stop working to take care of the kid, your
Yeah.
male counterparts, like, he keeps, going up, and
Yeah.
then when and the moment that you are ready to go into the workforce again, you're at where you stop,
Mhm.
where you left.
Yeah.
So then that's where the pay gap starts. And then now I feel like a lot of men take advantage of, feminism, and oh, you want to be equal, then you have to, like, 50-50 at home. I'm like, no, 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 because you always will have more money. You will have a better salary than me. Like,
Yeah.
there's no 50-50 here. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. As long as we are not in the same pay range,
Mhm.
I'm not going 50-50 with a man. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
And men misunderstand feminism.
Yeah.
They think, because of, extreme feminists
Yeah.
that forget about what it is actually about. Like, I just want to be equal. I just want to be heard.
Mhm.
I want to be taken, seriously.
Yeah.
I want to be paid the same. I
Yeah.
want to have the same opportunities. I want to have a voice.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm better than anyone.
No, 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 no. It's about equity. It's about making sure that you are given what you are worth.
Mhm.
And you're right. There is no way of quantifying those years that you spent with your kids. Like the man keeps rising, his career keeps rising, his paycheck keeps rising, and then you come back to the labor force at the same place you stayed. Obviously your skills didn't rise because you were with the kids.
Mhm.
Obviously your paycheck is not rising because you were with the kids, but that time with the kids no one is paying for. And
Mhm.
that person, that man who has the kids, hasn't given anything to his wife to pay for.
Mhm.
It'd be different if I got a salary from my husband. That'd be great, because I'd be like, at least financially,
Mhm.
I am being, I'm given something, at least financially. Okay. But you're right, that the work becomes invisible
Yeah.
and assume that we're supposed to do it because we are biologically, females because they make it into a nurture
Yeah.
argument. It's like, oh, you have to love your kids because that's your animal instinct. So they make the argument from a biological female standpoint, but the social pressure is from the gendered side, where socially people cannot accept a woman who can say, I also want to earn money and I also want to improve my skills just like my husband. That's the social part. So it's really messed up. And
And we can't even start diving into how the pyramid actually works, because it's like white straight men at the top,
oh yeah.
and then there's like all these other men categories,
Hmm.
women, and
Hmm.
then LGBTQ.
Hmm.
Like,
And at the bottom, indigenous
yeah.
queer folks. And that
So
should not be
we
like that.
don't even have time to like get into all that, and because imagine if we face that discrimination, like
Hmm.
everyone that goes at the bottom
Yes.
have it even worse.
Yes. And that is why we have to be in solidarity with all the people who suffer in this world. It's funny what you said about the person that told you about, oh, I have a female boss. It's funny that they think that now men are at a disadvantage when all the rules are made to favor them. Our job as human beings is to stand next to the person who is suffering, the person who systemically has been oppressed for centuries, and that being minorities and women. And obviously, we have all the other community, LGBTQ, disabilities or different abilities, and so forth, right?
Yeah.
It's our job as good allies to stand next to them
Mm-hmm.
and help them. That's just what it is. We can't go out and be like, oh, I'm going to help men too. No, because men structurally have more benefits. They are the ones who should be the allies.
Yeah.
They are the ones because they have the privilege. And I want to quickly a disclosure before heads start rolling in this podcast and people's minds start exploding, especially our few male listeners and viewers. Hi.
Hi.
We don't hate men. We don't, this argument of, if we discuss how difficult our lives are or the challenges that we have to endure, it doesn't mean that we hate men.
No.
I love men. I love men the same as I love women, as I love pizza. I love and sushi and
Sushi.
pupusas. I
And
love them.
chocolate.
And chocolate. Yes, I love them. I love you, brother, who's listening to me and watching me. I love you. This is not about women versus men. We're talking about a structure that oppresses women and minorities and people who have differences, queer people, and so forth. It's about standing up, bringing that awareness, and saying, if they're oppressed, then maybe the system is wrong. And if you're privileged in the system, then you have the power to switch it up.
Yeah.
You have the power to become the strongest ally and to actually use your voice, because your voice is worth more than our voice. Use your voice for change. That's all we're saying. There's not a don't feel attacked. I
Yeah,
think
we're
that
not attacking.
I think that people, when they feel attacked, they shut down. We're not saying men are bad. We're saying that you have it as bad as us, in the way that structurally you're also oppressed and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
And
You're almost like hardwired.
yes, you're hardwired to be uh, difficult in the sense of not showing emotions, not being able to cry, even in sartorial choices like dresses. Did you know that this whole thing with men and suits of bland color, black and blues and dark blues, that came and established itself during capitalism?
Mm-hmm.
Before that, men wore colors. And especially if you look at the kings of Europe, who were the standard of men at the time, they wore pink and purple and gold. They used makeup, they wore wigs.
Yeah.
There was no shame in that.
Wear heels and skirts.
Yes, there was no shame. And then the rules of the game changed after we entered capitalism and a new standard of masculinity was introduced. So men also suffered from this kind of structure. So we're not against you, brother. We love you. She's dating one of you. She loves you.
I love you.
So we're not against you. What we're saying is that it'd be nice if you listen to us and see our challenges and our struggles and realize that it's not easy for us and we're doing our best.
Yeah.
We're doing our best in a world that doesn't listen to us. And with that, and I think we need to close, but with that, I think we need to go to Tehran
Yes.
and to Iran. And what happened to Masa Amini is obviously
Outrageous.
terrible and outrageous, but it's not the only incident of violence against women in the world. I am glad we are all standing up and protesting because that's what should be done. But we also have to bring awareness to the fact that there are so many other women dying of femicide right now, and not just at the hands of their partners and friends, but also governments, like in her case.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't stand by that. And this is a next level of female suffering or gendered women suffering, where people are killing you for X and Y reasons. In her case, the morality police came to her, and this is not a case against Islam because it's not about religion, because who makes religion is men. Men, not in the male, but I'm saying men, humans. Humans are the ones that enforce laws, and they're the ones killing. No religion is killing. So this is not a case against Islam. This is a case against rules made by men, humans, that are oppressing women.
Yes.
In Mexico, a woman was murdered
Yeah.
by her town because she had an autistic son who was noisy. How can we stand by these actions and be like, she was probably problematic?
No. It's
No.
unacceptable.
Or in the case of Amini, she wasn't wearing her hijab correctly. Is that enough of a reason to murder someone?
No. No reason is enough to murder.
No reason is enough to murder. No reason is enough to control somebody's body and decisions. And unfortunately for us gendered women, that's what happens all the time. We're told what to wear. We're told what to put into our bodies. We're the ones taking the pill to not get pregnant, and we are the ones being told you cannot have an abortion, for example.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't even get into all that in this episode.
Oh, we're not getting into that.
Yeah.
Not today. Because if we do, I'm going to get angry.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get angry. But we have to start slowly creating awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I make a call to everybody, especially our male allies, to really take this to heart. It's not personal, but when you have two Latina women here telling you that that's how hard it is for us and for the rest of the women in the world, we're not saying it to bug you or to make you feel bad. We're telling you because you have in your hands the ability to change this world. And that is powerful.
Yes.
So hopefully you'll do it and you'll join us in fighting for a better world.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. All right, that's our episode today. It wasn't as fun as our other episodes.
It was fun. It was not funny.
It was definitely not funny.
It was fun.
Funny looking, maybe, but not fun. And I think sometimes we do have to have these conversations.
Yes.
So it's good
definitely.
we did. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you in the next episode. And if you have any questions for us, you can message Maria in her social media.
You can find me as MF Bruson, both Instagram and TikTok.
And I am Vanesa Tomasino in all TikTok, Instagram, and Be Real.
Be Real. I'm also on Be Real. Love it.
Look us up on Be Real. Vanesa Tomasino, 1 N, 1 S, and we'll check you out next episode, okay?
Yes.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.